Hello YouTube and the Indian motorcycle community. Welcome back to the channel. I'm Brandon Davidson, the owner of Davidson Audio, where we specialize solely in the Indian motorcycle audio solutions for you. And in today's video, we're going to be doing a complete disassembly on our shop bike here. This is a 2019 Indian Chieftain Dark Horse. So this video will be good for anybody that has a 2019 to current 2022 Indian Chieftain in the new body style. So enough talking, let's go ahead and get this bike disassembled. So where I like to start this disassembly process is at the inner fairing portion of the bike. Here we're going to be focusing on removing 10 total 4mm screws. That's going to be 5 per side. And where these screws are located there's 2 4mm screws on the bottom side of the speaker grill cover. And take those, which will expose one more screw right behind here that goes through the inner fairing and holds on the outer fairing. And then we're gonna have 2 more screws located below that for a total of 5 per side. What I like to use is a short stubby 1/4" drive ratchet in a standard size, 2 4mm Allen sockets. So let's go ahead and get these disassembled. And just like that, we've removed all 10 screws. So now let's go to the front of the bike, and we got some things to take care of there to get this fairing off. Now that we have all the screws removed on the inner fairing portion, we're back out to the outer fairing part, where we're gonna take care of some screws up here to help get this fairing removed. We're gonna pull off this headlight bezel first. And what I like to do here is I can put my thumb down in the middle, grab, and then just pop right out. 2 retention tabs, and then the 2 hold downs in the middle here, and the retention tabs up there. This will expose 2 10mm bolts right here that we need to remove. These are just simple 10mm head bolts with a washer on it. Set those aside. Now we have to turn the bike on and get the windshield motor up, so that way we can get to the 5 screws and get those removed next. Now the windshield bolts themselves are just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 4mm screw machine screws. So just again another 4mm ratchet, and get these taken off. So holding on the windshield is just a 4mm machine screw with this flat style T-nut. So when you put the screw through, there's a groove on the back of the motor assembly windshield, and it just sits right up in that pocket and holds it in place. Now there's 4 last bolts that we have to remove, and I wanted to show you those first. Now, once the windshield is removed, it will expose the 4 bolts I'm talking about. This is I guess you'd call it a water trough deflector. The water from the windshield will come down, will go into this, and then it'll drain down. So there's 4 bolts we're gonna be addressing. It's this one, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. These are a little bit of a pain to take out, but with the right extensions and sockets, you can get to them from this upper part. So let's go ahead and get these removed. To get these 4 bolts out of this area, I'm gonna be using both, again, the stubby and standard 4mm ratchets, the same 2 Allen sockets, but then an assortment of extensions to get down in there and get the right angle. Just like that, we're done here. So let's go back to the front of the bike and get the fairing off. Now that we finally got those last 4 machine screws out of the top of this, where that rain trough area is, we're now ready to take this outer fairing off. So we're gonna pull this outer fairing off, and now just remember the headlight is still plugged in, because I didn't want to remove that. So we're gonna pull it out, make that 1 electrical connection, and get this whole fairing taken off. And simple as that. There's the connection for the headlight, and now she's all off. Now that we have the outer fairing off the bike, now it's time to work on the rear of the bike. What we're gonna start by doing is getting this OEM passenger backrest off the bike, and then we're going to remove these side panels. That way we have access to the 3 bolts that hold the factory seat under the bike. So to remove the backrest, I like to open up the saddlebags. Just gives us a little bit more room from the edge so we don't have to worry about scratching it. This is the OEM one, so 2 quick tabs, pull them up to the disconnect, lift up in the rear, pull back, close the saddlebags. Now on the clutch side, the side covers, they're both very simple. Just put down the foot peg, then grab from the outsides, just like this, and tilt it back and up. And just like that, the clutch side covers off. There's 3 push tabs here that correspond to 3 rubber bushings here that hold the cover on. And now that we've done that, we've exposed the 1 bolt on this side that we can go ahead and take off. Now to remove this bolt, it is a standard 6mm socket. So we have our 1/4 inch drive with our 6mm socket. We're gonna take this off. With the 1 6mm off, let's go ahead and take, there's 1 6mm on the rear of these OEM seats that hold it to the fender. A lot like the clutch side, we're going to go ahead and remove this side panel, exposing 1 6mm bolt. We've removed all 3 6mm bolts off of the seat. We can go ahead and pull this off. To take these seats off, it's very simple. Just lift up on the back and pull right on back. And then, as you can see, there are 2 pockets right here with 1 mounting tab here, and that corresponds to 2 mounting studs here on the frame, and then 1 bolt hole here. And then the seat obviously has the passenger handle as well that you can feed through the seat. So now let's go ahead and get this fuel tank removed. We're going to go ahead and start the process to get the fuel tank removed. The first part that I like to start with on this is on the brake side of the bike. There is a quick disconnect line here that goes from the fuel tank to the injector lines. So I like to take that off first so that way I don't forget and I'm not wrestling it off later. So the first thing I like to do is we're going to go ahead and remove the side derby cover to gain more access to that fuel line quick disconnect. Just like that, 3 simple 5mm machine screws that hold that on. And now with the side cover off, we have more access to this quick disconnect. I'm going to start by, I like to take a shop towel here, stick it up underneath the injector line. And now this isn't going to catch all the fuel, but it will help. There's 2 quick disconnects on each side, 1 on each side of the connector. You're just going to push them in and pull that line off. You're just going to turn it. I like to turn it down so that way it's facing into the rag. And now we have the fuel tank disconnected. You can see the injector line right here. So now let's go ahead and get the fuel tank taken off. Now that we have the fuel line disconnected on the brake side of the bike, what we're going to do now is we're going to go ahead and get the other parts removed off the tank. So we're going to start with these 2 6mm bolts here. Before we go lifting up the tank, we are going to disconnect the vent line. This is the line for if you overflow this cap, the line comes down and overflows it down. It's just 2 plastic lines with a rubber connector. Just like that. So then we will lift the tank up and take out the bushings here and set them aside because these rubber bushings love to fall down the backbones and then they disappear. So for the fuel tank, there is this washer with a built-in stud to prevent you from bottoming it out. You put 1 grommet through there, isolator bushing through there. The second one with the Allen bolt and washer, it goes through there just like that to prevent you from compressing it too much, and the tank sits right here. Now to get to the electrical connector for the fuel pump, taking this push pin right here out to release the leather, take this machine screw out, that way we can push this forward, disconnect the electrical connector for the locks, and then we can get to the fuel pump. They do make tools for these. Unfortunately, I don't have one here with me, so I'm using a pair of diagonal cutters. Just real gently, well, actually, these will come off, but what I like to do is just real gently pull it out. To remove this, we're going to lift up just a little bit, push forward, slide it down the side, and then release the 4-pin connector for the locks. And that will expose as my bike doesn't have the other connector buttons here, so just a 1-3 pin, and then the wiring harness is clipped right here. So now that we have the tank cover off of the bike to expose the fuel pump, fuel line, and vent line here, we're gonna go ahead and disconnect this 4-pin fuel pump line, set that aside, and then what we're gonna do is the fuel line, we actually have to take this off, and it's gonna stay off to pull the tank off. And the biggest reason why I like to take the injector side of this line off is once we pop this off, it'll make sure all the fuel is drained out of that line. So when we go to pull this tank off, there isn't stored fuel in here just flopping around and getting fuel everywhere. So same as the other one, 2 quick disconnects. We're gonna pop it here, let some air get in that line, clean up right here, and then I will try to wrap the shop rag around this. And then this line's, we'll disconnect the vent line just to get it out of the way. We can put it back on. Right there, now everything is disconnected off the fuel tank. So let's go ahead and get it pulled off. It's gonna be very simple, grabbing the front and the back, pull up and back. And one thing I do like to note is we're putting all the parts from this bike on a clean shipping blanket, but for the fuel tank, I put an extra piece of cardboard down over that blanket because there's usually always just a little bit of fuel that may come out. So that just gives us a little bit of added protection. So let's go and get this off. Now to take off the saddlebags, it's very, very simple. It's just 2 bolts and 1 electrical connector. The electrical connector can be found on the clutch side, underneath the side cover. Just quick disconnect, simple 2-pin connector. You'll open up your saddlebags and using a 6mm socket ratchet, you can go ahead and take these 2 off. And just like that, our saddlebag is off. And just like the clutch side, the brake side saddlebag comes off the exact same way with only one variation. When you go to take off the electrical connector, you're gonna notice that on the Dark Horses and the Limiteds, this is a 4-pin connector, and the reason for that is just inside your lid right here, underneath the strap is a 12-volt port. So that's the only difference, exact same process, 2 bolts, and this comes right off. All right, and just like that, our 2019 Indian Chieftain is fully disassembled. She's now in the perfect place to install some accessories, whether it's performance or an awesome audio package on the bike. So I want to take a second to really thank you for watching the video, and please hope that you can subscribe to the channel, hit that little bell so you're notified, give us a like and share the channel, because this is just the beginning of very many videos that we're going to be doing, not only with the Indian Chieftain, but the Indian Challenger and the entire Indian motorcycle lineup. So thank you for watching. Again, this is Brandon Davidson with Davidson Audio.